that the U.S. really stands alone in having sort of a different national attitude towards time off of work, and there are a variety of reasons why that happens. And I can get into that a little bit. I mean, it's in part, like you mentioned at the top of the segment. There's a certain kind of exceptionalism, to the way that we think about work, to the way that we think about, how much time you should and shouldn't get off work. I mean, part of it, I asked a few political scientists about this year. And one guy, he said, it's this idea of the American dream. We're all kind of aspirational. We're all kind of, the U.S. is a kind of individualistic place. We don't have as much of a national mindset about class quite the way that European countries do. What that translates to is that historically workers have themselves thought of themselves as, potentially, eventually becoming small business owners. And well, when we all own our small businesses one day, we're not going to be hamstrung by government regulations. I mean, it's one potential reason why this happens, but I mean, it is definitely true, and we can see it in this data that we just we think about this so differently from everyone else.
Kendra in Manhattan, you're on WNYC. Hi, Kendra.
Hi, I'm from Barbados, and that's what we do. We have actually 3 months. We have 664 or 60 factor, or vacation time too. It depends on how long you're working. And I actually work for an American company in Barbados. I work for Intel. So it's not like the American companies don't know what is going on. They do it in other countries.
Is it paid? Is it mandated by the government? Do you know?
Yes, it's mandated by the government. It's paid. Your employer pays in part of it, and the government pays part of it, like your Social Security. And then you get a full salary for 664, 60 after. Sometimes you can take it in a lump sum right after. You can go on to your confinement right down to when you nearly give birth, and then you can take all that time after.
Kendra, thank you so much. Call us again.
Thank you.
Renelle, or is it Renelle on Staten Island?
Renelli.
Hi, Renelli. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm reading letters and a lot of E's, and they weren't all in the same place. And so, hi, Renelli.
Hi, how are you?
Okay.
Oh, great. So I actually lived in Australia for 3 years. I have one son, he's 2 years old now, and I worked in Australia, and I actually got to take advantage of their paid maternity leave, which was amazing.
And how did it work?
So the way that it worked is I could take 6 months to a year off. So I actually managed to take 6 months paid maternity leave off. I was able to stay at home with my child, and it was pretty great. And when I got to the 6 month mark, I decided to start going back to work part-time and then working from home. So it was really flexible, and my bosses were very receptive to it. It was something that the government sort of helps up until the 6 months, and then if you wanted to do another 6 months, sometimes companies can cover that.
Any other cross-cultural comparison you learned being in Australia? I understand they mandate voting.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, the whole sort of political climate over there. But I mean, it was something that every time I spoke to other women in my situation who are in the U.S., they always seemed to be so surprised at how much time I had. And then it was just such a very common, natural thing. Like, it wasn't frowned upon that I was staying at home. All my coworkers are very receptive and open to it, and very much, even returning to work, they sort of made it very easy with the transition. So it just kind of seemed to be a system that worked really well.
Thanks, Renelli. I appreciate you chiming in. Kate in Connecticut, originally from Russia. Hi, Kate. You're on WNYC.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for making it. Did you have experience with parental leave or anything in Russia?
So not me personally. I live here in the United States. I've been here for about 12 years now. My whole family is in Russia, and my sister had an experience with that. She had a baby, and her maternal leave was for a year and a half. And that's official time, a year and a half for, bonding and recovering and just raising your kid, and it's a fully paid maternity leave.
And is that under national law that all employers are required to offer that?
That's right, yes. I mean, her job, she's a doctor, it's a sort of very tough job, so I'm sure she gets a couple, maybe a month more, but yes, it's a very long maternity leave that's officially allowed and even, I think, required.
So if President Donald Trump wants to emulate Putin, here's one way he could do it.
That would be nice. I think that would be nice because the maternity leave here is disgrace, quite honestly. You know, I myself am a child-free person by choice. I will never have kids, and I will not say that this is one of the reasons why I've made that decision, but that certainly is one of the things that supports it.
Kate, thank you so much for your call. And Mary Ellen in Trenton wants to push back on this idea a little bit. Hi, Mary Ellen.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for taking my call. I'm a parent. I fully support the idea of parental leave to the full extent offered by any foreign country. What I have found, though, is that trying to make the case for greater parental leave by comparing it to European countries doesn't seem to work in America. I mean, all you have to do is ask a Donald Trump supporter if they want this country to be more like Sweden, and you'll get a very viscerally negative reaction. And,
Well,
it's sad that it's the case, but it is the case.
We're seeing with the Sanders campaign that maybe a lot more Americans than one might have thought want this country to be like Sweden, don't you think?
Well, I don't think that that's why they support Bernie Sanders. I know a lot of people when Bernie Sanders was making comparisons to Scandinavian countries for things like parental leave and healthcare, a lot of Bernie supporters were cringing because they knew what the blowback was going to be.
Maybe. Mary Ellen, thank you very much. So, Danielle Kurtzleben, NPR political reporter, you were laughing there. Do you want to add anything?
No, I mean, listen, she's right that once again, that there's a reason why America doesn't have it. In part, it is, you're right, that pushback among people, you know, like, I suppose some Donald Trump supporters, I don't have direct polling on that, but yeah, saying that they don't want paid leave. However, it is true that there are some polls that are showing that Republicans and Democrats, not in equal numbers, but at least majorities on both sides, are saying, you know, are starting to warm towards paid family leave. And really what is fascinating in this election, I think, is that paid leave is finally a big part of the discussion. Yes, you've had people pushing for it for a very long time, but now on a national level, in a presidential election, it's become a big issue, both on the Republican and Democratic sides. You had both Sanders and Clinton pushing it on the Democrat side, Rubio on the Republican side. So it's pretty amazing that this has become a big deal. And now that it's entered the conversation, I'm very interested to see where it goes, because it just wasn't talked about quite so much, even 8 years ago.
And Clinton and Sanders do have an explicit position for paid, mandatory, mandated by the federal government, family and medical leave.